This is what they're going to do now because they're not able to convince people that genocide is okay. They're just going to go full Orwell and try to seize all of the means of communication. That's what you're seeing with TikTok. Somebody clearly made it a condition of their continuing to operate in the United States under whatever terms they work out that they were going to crack down on pro-Palestine speech. And it was signaled that it was going to go that way quite a while ago. Strange things afoot at the Double T these days. TikTok is enforcing new speech laws. This is from Adame Media. They're banning users from calling the IDF terrorists, and now the only supremacy that can be called out on TikTok is white supremacy. This comes just 15 days after they hired Erica Mindell, former IDF and proud Zionist, as hate speech manager. Don't say they influenced the media, though. That's antiseptic. So this was mid-August, late August, August 23rd. So you could see very quickly by early September, Wally Rashid posts this. If you look up the USS Liberty on TikTok, the U.S. ship that was attacked by Israel, you'll get a notification reminding you of the Holocaust. So that's a little on the nose there. That's like Grok post lobotomy on steroids.
Yeah.
And then this is just this
even
weekend.
Though they didn't do it.
No, they did. Of course they didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's how you know they didn't do it.
That's how you know they didn't do it. It reminds you about the Holocaust
when you ask about it, even asking about it, they will invoke the Holocaust. Yeah. So James Lee shared this, and this was on the 14th at midnight. TikTok will be rolling out a new algorithm called M2 that will block, quote, harmful and misleading, unquote, content from landing on the For You page. Just last month, TikTok hired a former IDF soldier as their hate speech policy chief. Timing is all very convenient. So let's hear what he had to say, not James Lee, the TikToker.
Post on TikTok. And the reason for that is twofold. The first reason is something you probably know, the second you may not. The first reason is that tonight at midnight, there's going to be a new algorithm update that is called the M2 update. The M2 update is to prevent harmful and misleading content from making its way onto your For You page. This internal algorithm they'll be using to monitor all content that goes out is going to be monitoring what's being said and the sentiment within the message. And if you were to take a random stab in the dark at who is going to be running this new algorithm, who's going to be on the cybersecurity side on the back end, it will be none other than these guys that were hired within the last 12 months. Number two, the part you probably don't know about is there's a lot of rumors going around, and we'll see if it's true, that every video that's ever made its way onto TikTok is going to be put into this system to be filtered and analyzed to see if anything we've posted in the past wouldn't fall under the M2 guideline. Accounts will receive strikes, community guideline violations, and if the current rules still apply, 3 strikes can mean your account is permanently banned. So let me go ahead and use all the words. If Israel continues to run a genocide, if billionaires and elite continue to use the usury model and fractional reserve lending to sift away money from the poor to the rich, if the Epstein list and those who have already been incriminated as being a part of it continue to get away with what they've done, and as long as the entirety of the Gen Z generation continues to get gaslit by a tyrannical government that's making them seem like they just need to work harder to get what they got, even though nothing is the same, I will continue to talk about it.
All right, so that is Zachary Loft there, who I guess you can't find on TikTok anymore. According to the video, he said this was going to be his very last video. So why are they doing all this? You know, China has taken a pretty strong pro-Palestine stance, but the U.S. has taken a pretty strong you sell this to us or we're going to kill the whole platform in the U.S. stance. So it looks like all of that was leading up to this. Percent. TikTok deal framework reached with China. Trump and Xi will finalize it Friday. So here is George Soros's former right-hand man, strangely picked to be Treasury Secretary by the guy that a lot of people voted for to fight against that whole George Soros WEF world. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's almost like Trump didn't mean any of that. He appointed George Soros's right-hand guy who crashed the British pound as his treasury secretary, almost like they control him, almost like it's all WWE. You're not actually going to be able to vote your way out of this. It's weird. But this is what Basent said.
Have a framework for a TikTok deal. The two leaders, President Trump and Party Chair Xi, will speak on Friday to complete the deal, but we do have a framework for a deal with TikTok. Getting to this framework was made possible by President Trump and the high regard that President Trump has for Party Chair Xi. So when the leaders have mutual respect, then the delegations have mutual respect. And as Ambassador Greer said, we were in substantial contact with President Trump last night and then again today. We're not going to talk about the commercial terms of the deal. It's between two private parties, but the commercial terms have been agreed upon.
Okay, so from CNBC, both President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will meet Friday to discuss the terms. Trump also said in a Truth Social post Monday that a deal was reached, quote, on a certain company that young people in our country very much wanted to save. Basent indicated the framework could pivot the platform to U.S.-controlled ownership. TikTok did not immediately respond to a request for comment. At the same time, TikTok parent company ByteDance faces a September 17th deadline to divest the platform's U.S. business or potentially be shut down in the country. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said Monday that the deadline may need to be pushed back to get the deal signed, but there won't be ongoing extensions. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, or as we like to call him, the pig man, said in July that TikTok would shutter for Americans if China doesn't give the U.S. more autonomy over the popular short-form video app. As for who controls the platform, Trump told Fox News in June that he had a group of very wealthy people ready to buy the app and could reveal their identities in 2 weeks. The reveal never came. He has previously said he'd be open to Oracle chairman Larry Ellison. You could put Barry Weiss in charge.
Yes.
Or Tesla, maybe that'll be her new job over there. Or Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, buying TikTok in the U.S. Artificial intelligence startup Perplexity has submitted a bid for an acquisition, as has businessman Frank McCourt's Project Liberty Internet Advocacy Group, CNBC reported in January. Now, I didn't have time to deep dive into it, but I took a quick look at Project Liberty. It was not what I expected. Apparently, at least based on what I saw. And again, this was some quick research. This organization is dedicated to giving people back their right to digital privacy and control over their digital identity and footprint. So that actually looks like it wouldn't be terrible if he took it over, which means he's not going to. Trump told CNBC, we're in the worst timeline. Things like that don't happen. Right. Trump told CNBC in an interview last year that he believed the platform was a national security threat, although the White House started a TikTok account in August. Well, these are guys who share war plans on Signal, right? So, that's no impediment for them. The reason we never really got serious about building a presence on TikTok is because of this. Because right about the time that it would have made sense to start doing that, if we were going to do it, all of this antagonism towards the platform started to come up. And this idea of forcing them to divest, forcing them to sell it. And because it's owned by the country that kind of took the place, even with the Ukraine war going on, China really has the position in regards to our diplomacy that the USSR used to have as our principal rival, both economically and ideologically. We have that kind of an antagonistic relationship with them that was going to lead to something like this. They were not just going to let this Chinese app run wild in the United States. They made that very clear. So it looks like hiring the IDF person, cracking down on speech on the platform, which this didn't just start. It's just ratcheted up. It's gotten worse and worse. They kicked Greenwald off a while ago. Who else have they kicked off there? They've kicked quite a few people off.
Yeah, it's very random. I mean, people get their accounts suspended and then turned back on and then suspended again. It's it's very uncertain. And like with a platform like that, obviously it's going to be cryptic, given the fact that you're dealing with short form content. Some of it is reused from other stuff, like the people who post the articles and they green screen,
right?
Like there's a lot of recycled content on there. Go ahead.
If you look at the big picture, if you look at what's happening broadly, we covered the CBS takeover, where it's being taken over by the son of the largest private contributor to the IDF, Larry Ellison, and they're paying an outrageous amount of money to the free press. Nothing like what the free press does. If the free press deserves 200 million based on views, based on engagement, Tim Dillon talked about that. He said, I'm worth $1 billion. The Jimmy Dore show is worth at least $500 million if the free press is worth $200 million. You look at the views on YouTube, you look at the Substack engagement. Small creators do better than the free press. Like, far from being a success, considering all of the oligarch and Zionist money that went into that, it's a resounding failure, if anything, by the numbers. This is what they're going to do now, because they're not able to convince people that genocide is okay. They're just going to go full Orwell and try to seize all of the means of communication. That's what you're seeing with TikTok. Somebody clearly made it a condition of their continuing to operate in the United States under whatever terms they work out, that they were going to crack down on pro-Palestine speech. And it was signaled that it was going to go that way quite a while ago. This is the next level in the Zionist war on Americans' right to dissent. They're going to try to buy up all the means of communication. The TikTok, because it's owned by China, was particularly vulnerable to this. But if you look at CBS, that's another model, man. They'll just come right out and buy it.
Of course. I mean, you see right now in a moment like this, just what little respect people actually have for our founding documents and the founding principles, right? Particularly free speech. Almost a year ago today, that the Peace and Freedom Rally in Kingston, which is coming up in a couple weekends, actually, Judge Napolitano gave this great sort of history lesson about how, the government basically regretted writing the First Amendment shortly after the ink was dry, and they've been finding ways to undermine it ever since. And now that you have a situation that is so central to geopolitics and so clearly is getting out of their control in terms of the messaging and the propaganda, well, now you're going to see them take these sort of desperate actions to just eventually just break people down, right? Eventually just wear people down into, submission, into resignation. Well, I guess there's just no way to say what needs to be said, so I guess we just can't do it. This is why, there is no substitute at the end of the day for in-person organizing and actual, on the streets activism, because
but that's
the only actual
they cracked down on that
square
too.
left. And yes, of course,
I mean, look, I live like a mile from Columbia, man. Yep. You walk by there, it's quiet as a tomb.
Of course.
Come see me on tour in Louisville, Fort Wayne, Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.